Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one stop podcast for students, professionals, parents, and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career guidance, and career mentoring. Please welcome your host, Dr. S.P. Mishra, to the show. And happy listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode on India Career Center. I am delighted to welcome Mr. Sundaraman Ganapathiram to this show today, who has very recently published his first book in Tamil. So we'll be having a conversation around this topic. Mr. Sundaraman, welcome to the show, and thank you for so much to be on our show today.
Thank you, Dr. S.P. Mishra. Thank you very much for providing me this podcast platform to share my views on my recently published book. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And the topic we are talking today is about the role of a serious hobby in life. I mean, just to give a context about this whole subject, Mr. Sundaraman and I have worked together in a previous organization, and that's how we know each other. Few weeks back, I got to know from one of the WhatsApp group that he has published a book, and then that led to we talking to each other for some time, understanding how things have gone about. And then I realized that despite being such a big senior executive in one of the organizations in India and having a busy professional life, how he has managed to write a book, and that too in Tamil. So that actually prompted me to think about this topic, and I proposed Mr. Sundaraman, and he agreed for this, and which is why I'm so happy to host you here. Welcome once again.
Thank you, SP. Thank you very much. I really liked the way you probed me, because initially when I had the conversation with you, I thought it's more to discuss about the book. So I was just making mental notes, because just to give a glimpse of it, I would say that this is the book that I published, which is basically a divine Tamil poems. And I did put the book with reference to an English translation side by side, basically because I didn't want, though it's about Tamil poetry, whatever I've written over several years, and that too with reference to the grammatical Tamil is what I attempted. But then there are scores of people who will not be able to appreciate that. And parallelly, I did my contextual translation of the Tamil poem with English translation. That's how that book, I got this book published, and fairly it's been read by non-Tamils as well as we speak. But what was interesting is that you probed me to talk about how serious hobby should be. That triggered very different thinking to me, because typically hobby is taken as hobby. It's light. Whenever I get time, I get engaged, or my mainstream profession is so critical and I need to concentrate on that. And we don't take hobbies seriously. And then we don't encourage our children also to take their hobbies seriously, because it's not either or, because sometimes people will say that you take your hobby so seriously, then that becomes the mainstream profession for you, which is very few percentage of people will achieve that livelihood income coming through that hobby. For example, if somebody is very good in guitar and he wants to pursue that as his only profession, the chances that he will make it to such an extent that from a mainline earning income is the percentage is very less. So it becomes then constrained. People then leave that and then choose, say for example, you become a coding engineer in an IT company, and then he forgets his hobby. Now the point that I thought we should definitely discuss and debate is that how do I keep alive my hobby portion, whatever that was there with me during my childhood or my college days and during the early part of my mainstream career, and take it seriously and nurture it over decades is something which is a interesting topic.
Fantastic. Great. I think to start our conversation, let's understand So, what was your motivation to write and publish a book related to poetry in Tamil? I know you have. I mean, you come from Tamil Nadu. Obviously, that's the background. But tell us the backstory of this.
Okay, so I think I'll take a step back from your question and talk about something about my background, which is connected to writing this book. I come from a humble background in a temple town called Srirangam. It's on the banks of the river Kaveri, and I still remember my grandfather taking me for a holy dip in the river Kaveri every day early morning, and then visiting Sri Ranganatha temple. So I did my primary schooling in a small town called Devakotai, which is known for festivities around Lord Muruga. In fact, Lord Muruga is called as a Tamil Kadavul. And I studied in Tamil medium school in the primary portion of it. So it gave me a very strong foundation in Tamil grammar, and also a staunch liking for this as a mother tongue. And I should not even today when I count or multiply or do any mathematics, I do it in Tamil in my mind. And so that's the linkage to Tamil, this one. And during my school days, I did a schooling in ERS Center School, and I was fortunate to have good friends with me. And then we were trying to run a inter-college magazine those days, and REC Trichy had a Tamil Mandram, and I used to write poems in our college magazines. So basically, in that entire area of Tamil and affinity to Tamil, it was there, and I used to write prose as well as poems during my school days as well as in the college days. Of course, on the spiritual side of it, I would say there are two parts to that. One, of course, I come from background where my parents are staunch devotees of Lord Rama, and as a lineage, our family has been performing Sri Ramanavami festival for I would say generations. Probably this will be 140th year or so that we will be doing it as a family tradition we used to do. And also, since I grew in Thiruvanikaval, I was very much devoted to Lord Agilandeshwari in the temple there. So that's something which is in terms of the spiritual background is something which was there with me during the childhood and subsequently in the college days. Um, Actually, the COVID, I would say, has been the um, kind of trigger point for me to write more. In the last 3-4 years, the kind of turbulence that families went through, and we were also going through in our own families with reference to the impact related to COVID. And plus, I could see the way agony and the pain that was going over there. During the time, I started writing more about the divine Tamil poems, what I call. I started writing more towards that, and different philosophies are centering around that. And also, I started reading Bhagavad Gita a little more closely, deeply, trying to understand the inner meaning of that, and trying to compose poems out of that. Has been the attempt. That's how I would say the drive for me in writing poems, and one led to the other. And recently, in an interaction with one of my schoolmate, I would say, who published a book recently with the Notion Press, and that's how I got in touch with the Notion Press. So publishing is something which was not in my mind at that point of time. And interaction with my classmate, and since he published a book, and the interaction with the Notion Press led to a point where it is not that difficult. If you have some content, some story around that, it is something one can aspire to do that. So that's how I ended up compiling various poems which I was writing during several period of my life, compiling them into a book now as Divine Tamil Poems with English translation.
Fantastic. So, just to understand a little more, I mean, obviously, you have been a professional for uh, over 3 decades probably now. And so despite all that, how you have been able to take out time from the busy schedule? You mentioned about COVID. Of course, probably during that time, many of us actually got the opportunity to, step back and introspect about a lot of things in life. But I'm sure prior to that also you kept writing after your school and college career also. So did you have some kind of time allocation, for example, daily, monthly, weekly, some target to stick to this particular hobby?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't take this hobby as a serious hobby in the early part of my career. Early part of my career, the workload consumed me, and then the kind of professional pressure that you have at the beginning of your career is very high in terms of you have to prove yourself. The peer competition is very high, and there's so much to learn on the engineering side, because what we learn from the college side and the academic side is so little, and when it comes to the practical applications, then you have to be hands-on at the shop floor, building machines, building equipments, and maintaining machines, and running production there, and those areas. And then I was also deep into early part of my career itself into quality side, and all the quality tools, and learning about it, doing courses about it. So effectively, I would say that first decade, the 10 years, I don't think I devoted any time towards writing as a hobby. But occasions used to come, because whenever we take a vacation, annual vacation, and we travel down to south, and then get to visit temples and meet and greet with the family, at that point of time, definitely memories then gets triggered when you meet your schoolmates, or when you visit familiar places where we grew up, and when you visit temples and those things, and then festivals with the extended family members and all that. Those period, I then started writing, and but one habit I definitely had was to keep the collections intact, because those days were not truly a digital days. Today we are typing, writing everything in iPhone or iPad, and stored immediately into the cloud, and we have an access from anywhere. Those days it still was a paper and pen, this thing, but I preserved them. And once early part of digitization, of course, I scanned them and kept it as a scanned image and all that. Now, the critical connection to allocating time, I would say, came only recently. I would say probably in the last 10 years, and when I moved from north to south, just about 10 years back, 2015, I moved from Jaipur to Chennai, and then to Coimbatore. So that side, and then it's triggered more memories and more linkages, and then I could visit what it was an annual visit, annual vacation. Now we had more weekend opportunities were there, and that definitely cultivated into a habit of writing. So typically, then it started. I would say I started devoting time during the weekends, especially early mornings. I used to sit down and attempt to write. And the COVID period, definitely, yes. Then I started allocating more time to this during the evenings as well as in the early morning period. Now, last 2 years, just to connect to your earlier question, how do we make it as a serious hobby? I specifically then carved out saying that I have a Tamil channel, WhatsApp Tamil channel, and a set of followers in the WhatsApp Tamil channel. Almost over a year now, every day I post a poem. So it started off like that, and I thought, like, is it possible to do? at the time, since I had about 100 plus backlog of previous poems which I have written, I was able to comfortably put it. But then I started seeing that my inventory started depleting in a classical sense. Then pressure started. Okay, now what is to be done? Then I need to build that, keep that inventory level up, and then then it became a daily habit. So then I started writing on a daily basis short poems, and then connected themes. So then I started taking certain specific themes and then started writing a series about one particular theme. So if I take, for example, visit to various cities and temples, then writing about that in a period for about 15-20 poems will come, and 15-20 days it will be a series, part 1, part 2, part 3, connecting to that. That's how I started writing. Or if I take up one particular topic of how we don't appreciate our human body as a theme, and then I see that what kind of engineering goes in with reference to the sensory motors, perception. Eye itself is a marvel. No camera can substitute an eye. So when I start thinking about the human parts, and then I started writing about it, then it becomes a series with reference to writing about one particular theme. So that's how I started connecting to certain topics and themes, and then devoted time on almost on a daily basis. I spend about half an hour in the evening before going to sleep, thinking about what I should write. And invariably it gets triggered early morning. We call it as a Brahma Muhurtam, no? That time period, I definitely write.
So, welcome back after the break. Before the break, you were mentioning about certain things triggered more of your writing in the last 10 years. You mentioned about place. I think you connected more with the places where you grew up and where there are emotional connections. Then you mentioned all about something very philosophical. You said you thought about a theme with respect to body parts also, or to a visit to a place or a temple, and wrote about it. Fan following which you have on your WhatsApp channel, where you post every day a Tamil poem. So which means that the habits also have a connectivity to what we are doing. So very interesting, a very philosophical way of looking at how the habit has formed for you.
Very true. Very true. This is something which is how one should take his hobby seriously is a reflection. I think all the youngsters should have it. And when I say seriously, it should not completely get consumed by that, because then there are many things which we'll have to do, many roles that we play in our life. So we'll have to definitely balance that. It is not that, okay, I like that, and then I don't think book publishing is going to be the way. Of course, at certain age and certain stage, one can decide that, okay, I have crossed my material requirements and I cross my basic livelihood demands, and even on the family side, somebody could settle down and come closer to the retirement, and then he can say, okay, now my hobby has become serious. That is easier to be done. But somebody, as he grows in the professional career without losing the touch, and to keep those my moments or my personal time, and how I connect to what I felt was something which is intrinsic to me during my childhood or during the college days, and how do I carry that with me through the entire life. And if one is able to do that, probably the later part of life. In fact, one of the poem which I wrote was again about how do we dissect Tamil poem. Of course, it's about 30 30 30 in the book also. It's there. It's called Mupperum Deviyar. So here it's more, though I put it under the Siddhantam, that's philosophy, under that heading. It says Mummuppadu Varudangalum Mupperum Deviyarum. That means basically it's talking about the 330 years and the three great goddesses that we can associate with. Like the first 30 years are like something which we need to devote to learning, because that becomes the foundation of wisdom. And then the next 30 years is something which is very essential, where we need to put hard work and towards prosperity, towards wealth and possessions, because somebody cannot say that I don't need this base living standard, because that comfort gives you the foundation base, not just for you, for your next generation as well. So the Lakshmi, goddess of wealth, becomes the next 30 years of. Then the last 30 years is like more like a winding path, where whatever wisdom that we had, how do we really get into a devotion and a strength and love, and God as a devotion like Parvati, and how do we move from material wealth to a spiritual wealth? And these are the three ages of life which I was connecting. So when it comes to a hobby, the middle portion, early portion anyway, is a learning, and we are connected to learning all the time, and naturally somebody will be drawn to. Somebody could be to writing poems, somebody could be drawn to music, somebody could be into theater artist, somebody could get into games and sports, and everybody will have some natural affinity which will get attached to the early period of first 30 years of the life. But it's important that in the next 30 years, how they don't drop it, and then they keep portion of it carried with reference to the work pressures and what we chase as a material wealth period. Still they keep working at it at some level. But for example, for somebody like somebody who is a cricketer and early part of the life, and he has chosen this as a mainstream profession, then he has no problem, because then these two have converged already, and then he becomes, that is his earning potential as well. But the chances somebody to make it to the top 5% in any field which will sustain the livelihood is a challenge. And that's where that period somebody has to carry that consciously, and what you said as a serious hobby. So it's still a hobby. It is not the mainstream profession for that individual. And today why it can be a serious hobby is also that today we have the means to do that. Because today we have the digital play field which is available to us. We are able to, if somebody wants to pursue drawing or painting and other things, we continuously have those opportunities available to us.
You mentioned about how to, the 30-year, 3 phases of 30 years. That was a lovely analogy actually to understand how the life is. Not just with respect to hobby, but in general, I think that's a very strong analogy to think about life in general. Now, the best part of today's time is that if somebody is really good at something, extremely good at something, there is a good chance that the hobby can actually converge into a very serious money-making profession. So, and you mentioned rightly that today the digital field which is available is making that possible. A lot of things which we earlier in our times, I think we could never think of. So moving on, writing has been a very, very emotional activity for you as such. That's what I can pick up. So in your personal life, how it has been, I mean, how it has shaped you as a person?
Yeah, see, one thing is we all need some vent into our day-to-day life, be it at the pressures coming from the professional side or from the fulfilling the family needs. This gets you to a personal time kind of a slot. So when I have to write, then I start get into reading. And people connections have become very, very easy because earlier we grew up in the era of postcards, telex and telegrams and ways of communication, even a telephone call. We used to book a trunk call and then connect with somebody. Today, on the click of a button, we are able to connect with anybody whom we want to talk, and so the people connections have become much easier today. What are the peripherals which are needed to pursue your hobby? They are accessible. So all this have enriched, and I'm happy that it doesn't scare you from what we call as a retired life, so to say. No, so somebody who is at that age bracket where in a couple of years I'm going to pursue something. I know that there are so many things which I can do now.
Yeah.
No, it's actually I feel that I'm going to be more busy going forward in my life.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, in terms of your writing as such, so you stick to writing only the poetries, or you also write something which is like a kind like a diary or a journal where you just write about what happened yesterday and what went good, what was not so good. I mean, do you also do that?
No, I don't think I do that. See, prose writing was there during my school days.
Okay.
Or even novels and fictional novels and historic novels, and I attempted. I won't say that I was very proficient in that, but I used to write that portion. But then now I'm not able to really connect to that. Even for example, if somebody is going to ask me, can I write a blog, Tamil blog, in this thing? I don't think I may not be good at it. So I whenever I try to write, I try to get into that classical grammatical. I don't know whether it's not that I'm consciously writing it that way, but then I get drawn into writing that mode where typically we call it as Venba. Venba is with following certain grammatical rules, uh, and I don't think I'm trying to force fit those words into the grammatical rules. It comes to an extent naturally, I would say, and you will have to follow certain pattern in writing a poetry. So that way, my writing is very confined, very traditional. So that's why when I published this book, I was little concerned. Should Who will read this book? Because one it is Tamil, that itself is a funnel. Then it's poetry, and in the poetry, then it is grammatical, old style poetry, and fourth one is then it is all about spirituality. So
Mhm.
so I thought like it's so narrowed funnel, and who is going to read? But I'm fortunate that in the last 2 months it's now closer to 700 books getting retailed, and in Tamil Nadu, when you look at it, Tamil literature is strongly preserved by at the grassroots levels in villages even today. They have small groups. For example, in Tamil, we call it as Shaiva Siddhanta Mandram. That means Shaivites, as in the temple, in a Shiva temple, in a village, they gather at that age group of 60, 70, 80. They gather together and then they read Tamil literature, old books, praising Lord Shiva, and they go through that. And when my book reached certain such audiences, and the kind of reviews and the kind of depth of feedback that I could get from them, and I was very happy. So I am saying that it is a journey, which once you pursue this what we call as a serious hobby, it clings on to you, and then it takes you to places which you would have never thought like it is going to take you, and we will relish it. I seriously advise that this is something which every individual should aspire not to leave it.
Fantastic. And you mentioned rightly, see, today, I think today it's time of super niche area. So if you have created a super niche for yourself in any field, there's a lot of demand for such niche. Any kind of product or service where you have created a niche, the demand will actually skyrocket. And I think if there are young people watching this or hearing to this conversation, they must actually try to preserve their niche in whatever they do. Actually, it need not be just writing; could be any area of their choice, and there'll be somebody who is looking for it. And what I felt during this conversation is that you're so passionate about your poetry, about the way you write, about the method of writing. It comes so authentically, passionately from your conversation, that I think obviously the readers of your book can see that through your words, and that's exactly transforming into sales. So that's fantastic. So one side question onto this, did this writing really help you ever in your professional career also indirectly?
Professional career, in the mainstream activity, I would say no. In the sense, like, because it's largely technical. Of course, when I moved back from north to south, when I am connecting with the people there, local people there, whose mother tongue is Tamil and mother tongue is this thing, and even I could when I'm interacting with the shop floor employees or union or any one of them, my own relation to the early part of Tamil and the language literally helped me, because then
Fantastic.
I could quote, for example, in a moment of a discussion, I'm able to recite a couplet from Tirukkural.
Okay.
And Tirukkural is full of management philosophies. It defines the way somebody should organize his own personal life, professional life, and work methods. Everything is defined in Tirukkural. In a way, when you look at it, it's a management book by itself.
Mhm.
And so when I'm able to pull out certain things from what was part of my hobby list, and then share it in my professional life, I the connection becomes very, very quicker, stronger, emotional, and so that I could see that I'm able to connect.
Fantastic. I think you're so passionate about writing, and so much of poetry and passion is actually left in you. So obviously, I'm sure you will be planning for your next book soon.
Yes, I've already started working on my second book.
Okay,
This time I'm looking at more to write on a management leadership.
fantastic.
It's more like a
So that
self.
would be in English.
That will be in English. That will be in
Okay,
English. Self-help workbook type.
okay.
Uh, I'll see because once now I've seen this side of um, publishing and leaving it as a legacy uh,
Mm,
going forward. That is definitely is what is working in my mind, and professional life. So much we learned,
mm,
so much we have seen around the leadership style, so much we have seen around the way people manage issues, problems, how do they go through with that. There is so much which what we have achieved together as a team, and the individual contributions that we could make, if we are able to convert that into some kind of a learnings that we can leave it to the youngsters to pick up the threads. That is something which is definitely in my mind.
okay. So before we conclude, any concluding remarks, especially for youngsters?
So take your hobbies seriously is what I would say. Keep that connection on, and this hobby could taking it seriously. Sometimes it could be stressful because then you will have to allot time, you will have to focus on it, you will have to think about it, but consciously doing that. So both in professional as well as in the personal life, we can look for those converging points and then pick it up seriously and drive it.
Fantastic. I think it was excellent talking to you to understand about your story as to how you took up your serious hobby of writing, and I wish a lot of success, not just in your second book, which you're writing already, but in the upcoming series of books which you're going to write
Sure.
as you go along. And wishing you
Sure,
a lot
sure,
of
sure, sure.
success uh,
Absolutely.
for your present book as well as your future books. Thank you so much for
Thank
giving your
you.
insights.
Thank you, thank you. And just as one final point, especially this book, of course, I'm
Yeah,
not promising that I'm going to do it in the rest of the books that I'm going to write. At least this book, being the first step, unconnected to divinity, the entire proceeds of this book is actually channeled to a group of young kids who are into that, what we call as a Nama Sankirtanam. It's a Smarane Sugam is the entity, 35 girl children who have taken this as a passion path to propagate divine scriptures and divine poems and divine literature. And this book's proceeds go to them. And I would earnestly request your viewers and reach to look at ordering this book in Amazon for a good cause, and also definitely to give feedback to me to improve further in my own writing. Thank you.
thank you so much, sir. And it was great pleasure to talk to you today, and look forward to talking to you more in the future.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes.